Welcome back to the TWSN YouTube channel. We have another edition of Walk Off Wednesday today for you guys. MLB trade deadline, man. We've been talking about it. We've been giving you some potential blockbusters and whatnot. Things finally happened. We're here to unpack everything. It was a wild one, guys. It was a really, really wild deadline. Some crazy things that we haven't ever seen before. But just before we get into things, just, go subscribe here on the YouTube channel. Follow along on all the TWSN social media accounts. Check out the TWSN Patreon for everything. We got so much more MLB content, all the other sports content as well. So make sure you're following along. And now we're going to get into the MLB trade down a little bit, start to unpack everything. We have 4 categories we're going to go by today. Those 4 being the biggest surprise trade, the most underrated trade, the biggest winner, and the biggest loser of the deadline. And we're going to get things started with the biggest surprise. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say for all of them because we talk all the time. But I'm interested to hear what you guys are going to give the people. We're going to start off with biggest surprise, Logan Van Dyne. What do you got, my man?
I was surprised that the Yankees decided to trade away Jordan Montgomery for yet another outfielder, Harrison Bader, because this was a weird scenario. Because when I first saw the news, like, okay, the Yankees are dumping Montgomery, I thought it was going to be for prospects. No, they got Harrison Bader to add 2 more other outfielders. I mean, let's look at their outfielders right now. They consist of Aaron Judge, Aaron Hicks, Matt Carpenter, and now you're gonna have Harrison Bader, who's fast. I mean, it's a pretty solid move, but I just was surprised that the Yankees decided to give up on Montgomery, because Montgomery, he was having a pretty good year, but I guess it was to make room to add Frankie Montas into the rotation. But I just didn't expect the Yankees to necessarily go after another outfielder for Harrison Bader. I think the Cardinals will, at the end of the day, they will end up winning this trade because they need more pitching. I thought the Yankees definitely gave up on Montgomery. So I think the biggest surprise for me was the fact that they got rid of Montgomery for a kind of a mediocre, kind of an average kind of player in Harrison Bader. But I guess we'll see what happens with the trade. Who's going to win it down the road? I'm
kind of there with you. I like in just retrospect, I really do like Harrison Bader's fit on the Yankees, but I think Jordan Montgomery was a much more valuable piece to that team. Like, I really, really liked what they did up until that move. I thought their deadline was pretty flawless. But then you traded for Frankie Montas, which was a need. You got a better number 2. But the issue was always kind of the depth, and like, if the starters are going to be able to hang around, and you just traded Jordan Montgomery, now you have less depth than you had before. You're really going to be relying on Jameson Taillon, Domingo Germán, Luis Severino in the playoffs, and I know the rotation shrink down the year, but they're really walking a fine line. If they stay healthy, things will be fine, but if they start to battle some injuries down the road, I do think that is something that will probably end up biting them in the butt a little bit, if I'm being honest. I mean,
yeah, and Severino got hurt too.
He's already hurt.
60-day IL, I think. So
yeah, he just got transferred.
If he's even going to get, if he's going to be ready for the postseason, we don't know what kind of Luis Severino we're going to get out of the Yankees.
And they traded their prospects away that were close too, so they don't really have anybody.
Also, let's not forget. I mean, yes, they got Montas, but he was injured for a little.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's kind of like, I mean, good job, Cashman. You had a hell of a deadline, but one injury, like you talked about, the depth is gone. And what has plagued the Yankees in the playoffs year after year?
Mm-hmm.
It's the lack of pitching. And, yeah, that was a little bit of a head-scratching move. Like, I would give them an A- for the deal, for the whole deadline. It would have been just a solid A or A+ if that last move hadn't been made. I mean, if he comes back, he's a great defensive outfielder, but
Harrison Bader is also hurt, by the way.
Yeah, so
like,
it was just a weird trade.
It
when
was.
it got announced, it was just.
Yeah.
I found myself just kind of questioning the move for the Yankees, at least for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I don't know where he's going to necessarily fit.
Yeah,
I mean, he can.
Yeah,
he'll take
I don't know where
off.
he's going to fit though in that lineup
he can take some playing time, but like, why give up on a guy like Jordan Montgomery, who's been more of your?
Yeah, it just seems like you got rid of a more valuable position, a more valuable asset for, like, I don't really know what you gained in Harrison Bader. He's a hell of a player, one of the best defensive players we have, one of the best athletes in the game, but just not what you needed at the end of the day. You might have got the better player, but like the fit is way worse than what you had before.
Definitely.
So I'm gonna go on and give mine now. My biggest surprise was Whit Merrifield to the Toronto Blue Jays. I think that this was a little bit of a panic move by Toronto. I think Whit Merrifield's best days are obviously behind him. He's still a pretty solid baseball player. But I feel like they wanted to make a move, and they kind of they did it right at the deadline was ending. And they felt like they needed to do something, and they decided to go get Whit Merrifield. And he's a good player, but I'm just not quite sure where he fits in again. Like, he's not really taking any reps in the infield. Maybe he plays a little bit of second base, but Santiago Espinal is just an all-star. So, like, why would you take him out of the lineup? Maybe he goes play some center field to give Springer some days off. Like, maybe he's just an...
Springer's hurt still, I believe,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Maybe that's just kind of what it is. It's insurance to every position. It's like a super utility backup role. I don't know if it was worth. I think it was more just they wanted to make a move. They didn't really get any of the guys they wanted in the lineup, and they just kind of wanted to get a super utility guy. So we'll see.
And I'm here this though. I just saw this. So he can't play any home games because he's not vaccinated. So the Blue Jays are okay with that. So
he'll probably get vaccinated.
I'm sure he'll get. I'm sure that was part of the deal.
You don't make that deal unless you kind of have like that. Like the inclination that he's going to get the shot. Like, look, if he doesn't get it, then this is a dumb move by the Toronto Blue Jays.
But I'm pretty confident he'll get it.
I'm confident he'll get it, too.
Just like, Andrew Benintendi was the same one. He got vaccinated, too. So,
I guess we'll see. But
maybe playing for the Royals, they didn't really care. It is what it is. But we'll see how it plays out. Maybe it'll be beneficial after an injury or something. But at the surface, it was a little surprising to me. Matt, what do you got?
Yeah, so for mine, it's not surprising that the player got traded because we all knew this guy was going to get traded. It was where he went, and that's Luis Castillo. I did not expect him to land with the Mariners. Like,
Same.
There was talks about the Yankees, Dodgers, maybe like the Blue Jays even.
Yeah.
The Mariners just kind of came out of nowhere, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I love it. It was awesome. I loved seeing what this Mariners team is doing, and Castillo already showed his worth. He debuted today and did pretty well against the Yankees, ironically.
Yeah.
But it just kind of came out of nowhere. It was just like 1 minute he was a Red, next he's a Mariner. Like, and maybe it shouldn't be that surprising considering the Mariners and the Reds like to trade with each other. Like they're front officers are friendly, I guess. But it was just a weird trade.
It was the first big one too. It's not like they just got pressured into it or something. But it happened Friday, I believe.
The Seattle Mariners set the tone for this deadline.
They did.
That doesn't happen very often.
That they did.
I think they're in a prime position to reach the postseason for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
So I love the trade. It's just if I have to pick a surprising trade, it's that just because I really was not expecting him to go to Seattle.
Yeah, that move. I think that sent the whole that Seattle made. That sent the whole Major League. That sent them the AL West and sent the whole baseball world a message that saying like they are in it. They think that they have the players. They have the team to get them into playoffs. So adding Castillo is kind of like that missing piece that they were looking for because their pitching has really been their Achilles heel all year long. To think of that, Marco Gonzalez hasn't been that great. Chris Flexen's been kind of if. We've seen their rookie Gilbert pitch pretty well, but adding Castillo and like you said, Matt, he pitched pretty well today against the Yankees. Seattle, they're hanging around right now, trying to get a wild card spot. I think they are all in on finally getting back into the postseason.
And worst case scenario, with Luis, you got that extra year of control with him. Yeah. So if you don't get it for this year, you got a full year of him next year, and you can go at it again a little bit. Let's go on to the most underrated trade in our opinion. Van Dyne, we're going to kick things back off with you again.
I did not expect at all Noah Syndergaard to be a Philly or to be traded, but he is, and I love that move by the Phillies. It kills me to say it as a Mets fan. Now I have two former Mets pitchers in the same rotation against your division rival, that we're most likely going to face. But now he's a Philly, and I like the move by Philadelphia. Philly, they're on a roll right now. They're taking us out of first place, but look at the standings right now. They're on the thick of a wild card chase. And I think that's one of those under-the-radar moves that Phillies made because the Phillies, I think, in my opinion, they had a great trade deadline. I think they acquiring Brandon Marsh, getting David Robertson, but now adding Syndergaard, a very under-the-radar move made by the Phillies.
Yeah.
I like it.
I'm there with you. And another thing about that deal, or not that deal in general, but just the Phillies play a lot of games against Washington down the stretch. A lot of them.
And against the Mets. We got 5 coming up in the
Yeah, you
next
don't think
2 weeks against
Syndergaard's going to
them.
want some revenge against the Mets?
And
I would love
look,
He's
Syndergaard
definitely
and
going to do it.
DeGrom pitching matchup.
the Phillies have not been what people expected. They've battled their fair share of injuries. Some people have been cold. But if that team gets hot, man, like there's not many teams in baseball that are going to be able to stop that lineup if they get hot. That's a big statement. But I mean, if things click for that team, they're going to be tough to beat. And you kind of touch on it. My favorite underrated move was one that I viewed as a win-win for both parties, and it's the Phillies and the Angels again. But another move that they made, the Brandon Marsh for Logan O'Hoppe deal, was phenomenal for both parties, in my opinion. Brandon Marsh kind of comes in and helps the Phillies right now, but you still have that long-term control of him. He gives you that contact first, defensive minded outfielder that is good. He hasn't played up to his potential yet in the big leagues. Maybe now he can in that star studded lineup from top to bottom. And then if in the Angels side, you got your top prospect, Logan O'Hoppe slates in as the Angels' #1 prospect right away. It's a little bit weird because I think the Angels know they're not as close as they want to be. So they went and got a catcher, which they haven't had a good catcher in a long time, it feels like. And now, you get one of the best catching prospects in all of baseball, and Logan O'Hoppe, and it just seems to work out for both sides, really.
Yeah, I mean, and O'Hoppe's not bad offensively either.
No, he's really good. He's really good.
Like the dude can hit. Like he's good defensively and he can hit.
He's really good.
I think, I agree. Win-win for both teams.
Yeah.
Like I think Marsh kind of was done out in.
Yeah, it was just weird. Like I don't know, but it's weird just because Trout's hurt now and their outfield's not good in general. But I mean, in a couple of years, it wouldn't surprise me if obviously O'Hoppe came in and was just more valuable than Brandon Marsh was, and I think that's what all they're looking for at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, and the Angels aren't contending, so
Yeah.
why not try to get some pieces for the future? And I think it was like a
Yeah, and it's not like he's years away either. He's on the brink of the bigs, so we'll see how it plays out. Matt, what you got?
Yeah, so mine kind of got overshadowed by the big news from yesterday, meaning the Juan Soto news, and that's the Jorge Lopez deal going to Minnesota from Baltimore. This guy is lights out. Like I can't put it any other way. He's just straight up dominant when he comes into games, and I think the Twins as a whole did awesome, but especially with this move, and I think this move gets overshadowed, like I said, because soon after Juan Soto got dealt, and then that was the talk of everything. But this was such an underrated move by Minnesota to add to that bullpen of theirs, and it kind of really helps them potentially just secure this division. I mean, yes, the White Sox can do something. Yes, the Guardians are still there, but Minnesota really established themselves as the front runners in this division, in my opinion. And I think Lopez is going to shut down the end of games.
Massive
he
addition.
was doing it for Baltimore, and I think Minnesota has some better defenders than Baltimore does.
Yeah.
So
and easier schedule.
Yeah, and look, he had a 1.68 ERA, like
Unreal.
as the Baltimore Orioles closer.
Yeah.
So 19 saves, like I love this for the Twins, and this move is not being talked about enough. And I think if assuming the Twins reach the postseason, maybe their drought of not winning a game might be over because of him.
Yeah. Twins are good. I really do like what the Twins did at the deadline as a whole. I think there's a couple other moves that you could classify here in the underrated category for sure. There's a lot of ones that got overlooked in general. Those are just some of the ones we want to talk about. You can comment yours down below. We'll react to them, give you our thoughts about that one as well. Let's move on to the biggest winners and losers. We're going to start with the winners. We can talk about these ones a little more in depth. But Van Dyne, kick us off again, man. Who's your biggest winner of the deadline?
It's the Padres, man. I mean, come on. Like, look what they just did. They didn't even give up a whole lot for Juan Soto, and they also got Josh Bell. I mean, just looking at this lineup, you got Josh Bell, Juan Soto, Fernando Tatis when he comes back. You also have, of course, Manny Machado. You got Jake Cronenworth, Trent Grisham.
Bernard Drury.
I think it's gonna be too. Yeah, Brendan Drury. And I think it's going to be too late for them to catch up on Matt's Dodgers because they're, 12 games back. But I think whoever they play in the wild card, if it's the Braves or the Phillies, I think they beat them handily, and they could be a threat to any of the teams that they play in the division series because, I mean, they just are loaded right now. I mean, adding Juan Soto and Josh Bell to that team, and they got decent pitching. And, of course, you added Brendan Drury, like Lucas said, who was having a career year.
And Josh Hader.
Yeah. And Josh Hader. I mean, this GM is like, he is he pulled up the best. I don't know what I forget what his name was, but he just made some great moves during the deadline. Adding Josh Hader was great, but then adding Soto and Josh Bell is just huge. I mean, they won that. They won the trade the deadline big time, and they're going to be
Oh yeah.
a tough team to play come October if they make it. Well, they will definitely make it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to sit here and disagree that the Padres didn't win the deadline. Josh Hader, Brandon Drury,
I think
Juan Soto, and
they were tied for the win in the deadline.
they were tied.
Yeah, I think like we talked about this a little bit on our show last night. I think the Yankees in a vacuum had a better deadline because they addressed every need they have with their already dominant team.
I just think that Frankie Montas was not their top pick. I mean, it was a decent move, but like
I think in hindsight, the deadline worked out. I was totally going to be on board with Matt's statement up until the Jordan Montgomery move was made. If they didn't make that, I would be fully on board with that because they didn't give up any of their top prospects. That's what they wanted the whole time. They didn't. They kept their top 4 guys. They gave up a bunch of pitching prospects, but they did feel their biggest needs. But then they gave away some depth. So I just don't know if that was worth it to do. That's the only issue I have with the Yankees deadline in that statement is I really hate giving away Jordan Montgomery.
I'm not saying they had a better deadline than the Padres.
No, yeah.
When you can get a player like Juan Soto,
yeah,
you're already gonna win that. But like I said, as a whole,
yeah, you have to consider everything.
I love what the Yankees did because they just fine tuned the small little things they had wrong with that roster, and they were already kind of a juggernaut. We've talked, but I still think the Padres starting pitching is an issue. I just think it is.
Yeah.
Yu Darvish has not been very good. Blake Snell has not been very good. Musgrove has been dominant, but you can't usually just rely on one pitcher unless his name is Madison Bumgarner, and that was in 2014. This is 2022, so I don't know. We'll see. I think we'll debate this another time.
We need to see it from the Padres a little bit.
I think your statement, Van Dyne, about how if the Padres were to play like the Braves, or I'll just go with the Braves because I think they would easily defeat the Phillies. I think the Braves could beat them. I really do.
Yeah, anybody can.
We really underestimate this Braves team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's more of a tip of the cap to the Braves than it is to anything.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I think and that's like the likely series we're going to get.
More than likely.
We'll talk about that later down the line. But I think if you look at it, I definitely agree the Padres had a hell of a deadline. You just can't sit here and say, oh no, they didn't do anything. Getting Josh Hader, if he is assumingly he's Josh Hader that we all know, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Because now that
we need to see it from them. That's it.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I don't want to crown the Padres anything because they still have some immaturity issues, I'll say, on that roster.
Yeah.
And I think maybe now, with Bob Melvin, it's been a little calmed, but we need to see it. And I think we will. I think this October it's going to be a big test for them. And then they have next year too with the same core.
It really is. I think that with the Padres, like Matt said, they have everything they need. They just need the pieces they have to step up a little bit. We need to see it from Yu Darvish. We need Blake Snell to figure it out a little bit. We need Josh Hader to get back to being Josh Hader. And then, we need Tatis to come back and play baseball first. But I mean, if everything, it's so easy to see this team obviously winning a World Series just because of what they are and who they have. But we just need to see it, and I totally understand the hesitancy to it. But I mean, you can't be mad for anything.
They are a top 3 roster in baseball, and I probably would put them at 1 or 2.
Yeah,
and they got Soto for 2 more years after this year too, which is crazy.
I think they have Soto for a year and a half.
Or a year and a half, yeah.
Because I think they're going to trade him.
Well, still, they have him for this year and then 2 more years, technically.
Yeah, I mean, they have him for a minimum 2 postseason runs.
I can't wait for the eventual Juan Soto to the Angels trade for Shohei Ohtani,
Well, I mean, that's the thing. We can talk about this another time, but it's kind of if the Padres trade him in 2 years, it's just weird. It's just a weird.
We'll see. We'll see how these next couple of years play out. That is what it is.
If he wins the World Series there, then maybe he'll stay.
For sure.
But I don't know. I think I do agree the Padres had a good deadline here. Well, who's yours?
I got two, depending on which ways you want to look at it.
Other than the Padres.
Yeah, other than the Padres, you touched on them. I really love what the Twins did as well, man. You had two legit bullpen pieces, Michael Fulmer and Jorge Lopez. And you had Tyler Mahle as well. That's just you added like the most underrated players on the market. All went to the Twins. They didn't pay. I mean, they paid decent prices for all of them, but like they still maintained some of their top guys, their top 3 prospects, all stay intact. You sent back the Reds way some serious hitters, and you came off of a bunch of pitchers for everybody else. But I mean that they're kind of winners because of that and the fact that nobody else in the division did a damn thing. So I think that they just separated them. They were already pretty much the best team in the division. They're in first place, and they got a lot better, and nobody else did anything. So I think when you look at it from that perspective, it's from the buying teams, they were a pretty underrated winner in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that the Guardians or the White Sox didn't do anything because I'm just looking at the Guardians, they're a game out of first place.
Hey, the Guardians made a trade.
With the Twins.
With the Twins.
Well, yeah, but like
yeah, they didn't do anything substantial. I guess
not even the White Sox either. Like the White Sox, I just don't even. I'm starting to think that Tony La Russa just does not care anymore about like his team. I think he might even get fired after this year because like this team, like I thought they were gonna do something like get Wilson Contreras at least or Ian Happ. They're still on the Cubs.
Man, they didn't do anything. Nothing at all. They traded what, Reese McGuire? I guess that counts.
They got Jake Diekman, but like who knows what Jake Diekman you're gonna get from there.
Yeah, it was a parallel move there, if anything.
Yeah.
But Matt, who's your winner, man?
Like other than the Yankees or the Padres, because I don't want to talk about that, and it kills me to say this, guys. It really kills me, but the Houston Astros.
Yeah.
Like, I love the Trey Mancini pickup for them. This dude can flat out hit, and in that ballpark and Minute Maid out there, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
He's already hit a home run. He hit a home run in his debut. Like, I think other than Juan Soto, this could go down as the best pickup for any team because
fits like a glove.
he is a flat out good baseball player, and I don't think they gave up that much to get him either, in my opinion.
It didn't.
And then they also went out and got Christian Vasquez, who's he's not like the best.
He's a major upgrade over what they had, though.
He's a major upgrade for the
huge.
And the price they got him for, it's a bargain. That is a straight bargain. So I think the Astros, who they already have the division,
and they got Will Smith for Odorizzi. That's solid as well.
Exactly. So
I loved that move. That was great.
We need to see a Dodger Astros World Series so we can have Will Smith face Will Smith again. just for the lulz of that.
The first ever 2-ring World Series. Double or nothing.
Because adding that Mancini move. I think right now, I think the Astros are going to beat the Yankees in October again. They're going to. It's going to happen.
Yeah,
they couldn't beat them in Houston this year. The Yankees barely beat them in the Bronx. They had 2 walk-off hits. There were no hit in the Bronx. I know we talked about batter early back in our first part of our show that if the Yankees got exposed, but Houston, they took 5 out of 7. I think adding Mancini and getting Vasquez and getting a good solid reliever in Will Smith.
Yeah, they're going to get healthier too.
As much as people like to get on this Astros team for everything that happened in 2017, many of those players are gone now.
Yeah,
let's just be real, they are.
Yeah.
And this Astros team is experienced and well managed.
Good.
Dusty Baker has solidified himself as one of the better managers in history. He just needs that World Series.
Yeah, just needs a World Series.
That's all he needs. He almost had it. He's almost had it, but he just needs that. And Gurriel has struggled this year. So if anything, Mancini can just be a replacement for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's old. I think Gurriel's his late 30s. I think
he's old. He is old.
Yeah. That entire team overall is kind of also. It took us that they got a much younger guy.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I just think that this, obviously everything's going to kind of fall by the wayside with Juan Soto. Juan Soto is going to dominate the headlines. Even Luis Castillo will dominate the headlines. But what the Astros did went under the radar, and I think they should be considered one of the better winners of this deadline, in my opinion.
I agree
Hands down.
completely. I
We
think
can also talk about the Cincinnati Reds being winners.
Yeah.
I know if you were going to go there.
that's exactly where I was going.
What the Reds did, you can win while selling.
That
And
they
the Reds
did.
proved it. The Reds stockpiled so much talent for the future.
Yeah.
The future is dark in Cincinnati right now, but the light is going to shine through very soon. Like
Yep.
any Cincinnati fans watching, your time is coming. The big red machine is coming back. We'll be
It's
back
phenomenal.
very soon.
Phenomenal.
Maybe 2 years.
And no,
Maybe 2
I
years.
I know it's a little weird for your team to like be considered a winner when you sold as hard as you did. Just like the A's. The A's got a lot of stuff back in the offseason and everything. Like it's just different. The Reds were in a situation they just had to do what they did. It sucks, in the moment, but like baseball's one of those situations where like it's okay to be bad for a few years and to switch in different situations here and there. But I mean, what the Reds just did to their farm system is unreal. They added, I mean, there was 7 top 100 prospects traded at the deadline. 7. 3 of them were in the Juan Soto deal. One of them went to the Marlins, and that was Jordan Groshans. If you want, he's not really a top 100 guy anymore, but he is. The other 3 are Cincinnati Reds. Like they got the same amount of elite level talent that the Padres got for Juan Soto. That the Nationals got for Juan Soto. It was completely different in other ways expected, but they got it. 3 top 100 players along with the farm system they have now. Hunter Green's 22 years old. Jonathan India won the Rookie of the Year last year. Better days are coming.
But hopefully he has a bounce back year next year because he's really having a disappointing season. Hopefully
He's picked it up. He's picked it up lately, but yeah.
I really love the guy Christian Encarnacion Strand.
Yep.
I like that dude's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Especially in Great America.
This Reds team is going. Yeah, that's a hitter's park. So like
it's a hitter's park, and they traded for nothing but hitters.
Yep, and like I said, I think within 2 years you're going to really see the Reds I don't think
Feel
for a
it.
World Series.
You're gonna start feeling them a little bit.
We're gonna feel the Reds in the wild card race.
Yeah.
Like heavily involved in the wild card race.
Hunter Green, and at that time Hunter Green would be 24. You know what I mean?
They haven't won a World Series since the early '90s.
Yeah.
So
And I gotta say, the NL Central is not a really competitive division. I think the Brewers can easily have a major downfall in the coming years.
And the Cardinals the Cardinals are pretty decent for the
there's
future.
not a team in that division other than maybe the Cardinals, maybe the Pirates.
Yeah.
Maybe depending what they do.
Pirates are getting there. I like that.
I think the Reds' future is brighter than the Pirates' future, though.
Oh,
I agree.
At least at this current time, because I think the Pirates have the means to go do something.
Yeah.
But
and the Cubs too.
there's not a team in that division like the Dodgers, like the Padres, like the Mets,
There's not a
like the
consistent
Yankees.
powerhouse, really.
That you just know it's just going to be involved in every single transaction that comes down.
Yeah.
There's not a team. Maybe the Cardinals, like I said, but even then, the Cardinals just I don't know. Can we talk about the Cardinals for a second here?
Yeah.
With this Juan Soto.
Okay.
With Juan Soto.
Oh Lord.
What are the Cardinals doing?
I don't know.
I just think that the fact that they wanted to keep Dylan Carlson over Juan Soto is just idiotic.
Dylan Carlson is older than Juan Soto. He's older than him.
The Nats' top prospect is older than
You
Juan
get
Soto.
Juan Soto into that Cardinals organization, the man's not leaving the Cardinals.
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
I think right
Even
now,
if he does that, the
perplexed by
Cardinals, what Paul Goldschmidt is doing is never going to happen again. Nolan Arenado is Nolan Arenado. You know you're getting out of him an elite, one of the best defensive third basemen we've ever seen. Pretty above average hitter at that. Slotting Juan Soto, boom, right in the middle of them for these next 2 years gives them. They need to be in the conversation every year.
Busch Stadium, man. There's magic in Busch Stadium, and the Cardinals decided, you know what, we don't want that magic for these couple years. Let them go out.
I just think it was well worth it. I just think it was well worth it. You have the ability to take your team to a World Series contender these next few years, but then you can build around Juan Soto. You can convince him to stay. He can, like we just talked about, the division's nothing crazy. So having that superstar in Juan Soto can just push you to the front of the division year in and year out, and that's a selling point.
Spot.
Well, the thing is, if they want to build one Juan Soto, I mean, the Nats tried that with a bunch of their mediocre players, old veteran players. That didn't
Okay,
work.
but let's be honest. The Washington Nationals are run terribly.
Yeah.
They've lost. Look at what they've lost since their World Series ring.
Yeah,
They've lost everybody. Like,
Rendon.
everybody. And honestly, I feel like they lucked out with that World Series ring. I'm just gonna say how it is. They got hot the last minute and they ran the table.
Yeah.
Baseball is one of the few sports where that does happen. Baseball and football are the two sports that when you get hot at the end, you have a good chance of winning. You don't see that in basketball. You don't see that in hockey.
Yeah.
So I think it was their year. They had all that talent together. Max Scherzer finally got his ring and all that. Soto was, main piece of that team. But it's like fast forward, 2.5 years later, there's none of those main players on that team anymore.
It's so sad, really.
Steven Strasburg's still there.
Okay, Strasburg's still there.
That was a joke.
Just retire.
That was a joke.
Retire. So Patrick Corbin's still there. He's about 4-15 now.
Okay, they're all shells of themselves. They trade all the players that were actually decent on that team are gone.
They're building around Strasburg and Corbin, bro. Relax.
God. I'm sorry, Nationals fans.
Yeah,
it is building around Herbert Ruiz and
it's not Juan Soto, but they have some elite prospects in that organization now. Some really, really can't miss guys that you should be super excited about. But it's not Juan Soto.
I feel bad for Luke Voigt. I really do.
Yeah.
The man had to move because Eric Hosmer said, "I'm not going."
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, that was like, he was saying like a big F you to DC, no way, and a big F you to San Diego. How dare you want to trade me to DC? Yeah, but he went to the Red Sox. I mean, we'll see how that works out, but still,
it's good for him. Yeah, let's go ahead and move on to our biggest losers of the MLB trade deadline. There's a couple we can go with. I'm interested to see what you guys say. Van Dyne, who is your first biggest loser?
I gotta say Baltimore. Like, I just don't understand why they wanted to trade away Trey Mancini and Jorge Lopez. I mean, if I'm a Baltimore Orioles fan, like, you gotta be upset because they're 2 games over 500. I mean, they're not necessarily. I mean, they're having a pretty good year, but by their standards, I mean, they're in 4th place.
Yeah, they're not in last place anymore.
They're last, and Boston actually made more moves to upgrade the team other than Baltimore. I think trading Trey Mancini, I think that was a mistake because that team, that city loved him. He loved it there. I mean, he was an inspiration to that entire team. I mean, he beat cancer. He came back and almost won the home run derby a year ago. And Jorge Lopez, like Matt was saying, it was having a great year. I mean, he had 19 saves. I mean, Baltimore is also 2 games behind Tampa, 5 games beyond Toronto. So they're not completely out of it, but trading away those pieces, I think it sends a message that they're still going to be on this whole rebuilding stage. And that's got to be so upsetting for Baltimore because you're in such a tough division, but you figure that this year is finally going to be a year that you're going to make some kind of push.
Yeah, I think with Baltimore, they weren't gonna buy, and if you're not buying, you might as well sell a little bit off, because there's no point for them to buy. This isn't the core people they expect to be good with. It's a plus that they are, but they have one of the best farm systems in baseball. Like, this isn't the core they expect to be good with. They're waiting for that still. That's still what they're doing. Yeah, they got a little bit worse, but they were never gonna make the playoffs. They just weren't, unless you really went out there and hard bought to make the playoffs, but then you just bought you built that farm system up so well. The farm system is loaded. It wasn't their year. They're having a hell of a year, but like the organization they didn't want to send it for the playoffs yet. That was it.
Yeah, the future's bright in Baltimore. Like, I understand,
it's definitely frustrating.
A couple of their pieces. I mean, I would have loved to see Mancini stay with them.
Yeah,
I'll be honest, but I get it. You can get something for him.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't Mancini, people wouldn't feel that way.
Yeah, I think so too. But the future's bright in Baltimore. Let's not let's not lie about this. Like, the Orioles are coming. Like,
yeah,
they're not the laughingstock of baseball anymore. So, next year we'll see. We'll see. Maybe this team takes that next step. Maybe they really do push for a wild card spot or something.
Yeah, it is what it is. My biggest loser, I touched on a little bit yesterday in the T. show, 7 o'clock here on the YouTube channel. But anyway, the Chicago Cubs, man, I don't understand. Like, they kept Wilson Contreras, they kept Ian Happ, but I know Ian Happ has another year, so maybe you can flip him in the offseason, but there's no reason to keep these people on your team. Why are you going to keep walking the line of mediocrity? For what? Like, you made the big deals last year. You traded Baez. You traded Chris Bryant. Like, if you trade Ian Happ and you trade Wilson Contreras, your farm system is completely loaded. Now there's a chance none of these people want to resign. Ian Happ's having a career year. Like Ian Happ is having a career, but he's not that kind of guy. He's not going to play at this all-star level forever. And even if he does, are you going to pay him that? Like, are you going to pay him like he's a bona fide all-star? Same thing for Wilson Contreras. Like, why do they want to be? It's there was no real need to keep them. I think that's the issue. The upside was with trading them. I don't know what the upside is. The upside with keeping them is like what? A wild card maybe next year if you make a couple big moves. Like that's what you're hoping for. Like there was no real reason to keep them, and I don't think it was the smartest decision to keep them.
I mean, you want to talk about a team? You know, we just talked about the Nationals getting rid of all their players since their World Series. Look at the Cubs.
Yeah.
Wilson Contreras is like the lone guy there.
Yeah.
They tore it down pretty quickly after they won finally. But yeah, like I understand Hap because you said, you can flip him in the offseason or even at the next year's deadline as like a
if he plays this good.
Bat. Yeah, but the Wilson Contreras thing makes no sense to me. This is his highest value. Why aren't you trading him?
Best catcher on the market, like the third best hitter.
Yeah, like everyone expected him to be dealt. I think the Cubs even expected to deal him. And I don't know what happened. They just didn't get what they wanted. I don't know. Like there was rumors the Mets were involved. He was a backup to the Soto deal for the Padres. I'm honestly surprised the Padres didn't go out and get him anyway.
Yeah.
They were trading yesterday.
I just feel like if you're gonna keep him, then he should already be extended. Like what? Like I don't. Maybe it's in the works, but like I don't know.
I have no idea what the Cubs are doing.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know. But Matt, who you got for one of your losers?
I have one loser, but it has three parts to it. Doesn't make sense. And that is the city of Los Angeles.
Okay.
One, the Los Angeles / Anaheim Angels. Why aren't we trading Shohei Ohtani? I'm sorry. This is literally, you want to talk about the highest value for a player? It's right now. Because every day now that goes by, that's one less day on a contract for him. Why didn't the Angels trade him? Like the dude is not going to re-sign there. He has not flat out come out and said that, but you kind of get that vibe from him that he's just not going to be there unless they really start winning. And do we really all honestly see the Angels winning next season? I don't. No. They've had so much time to do something, and they haven't done anything.
Yeah.
So he has talked about how he loves it out there with the Angels, but he wants to win. He has said that multiple times. I want to win. The Angels are not winning. The dude's going to leave. Why not trade him and recoup a crap ton of prospects? Like, the deal would have been insane for him.
I think if Juan Soto would have got dealt, like, early, like Friday, like when Luis Castillo was, then it would have opened up a bigger possibility for that to happen because then they would have been like, holy shit. Like, they got that for Juan Soto? Like,
maybe. But
no, it was total speculation.
Talk about bad run organizations. It's the Angels, man.
Yeah.
No, but
Art Moreno is a terrible owner. He really is. And his decisions have set this team back time and time again. And it's like, I get not wanting to trade him, like maybe, but it's like, this is the most value you're going to have with him. You know, whether that was to the Mets or to
anybody.
I think it was the Mets, Dodgers, and Padres are the three teams that checked in on him. Yeah. He would die. He would let hell freeze over before he traded Shohei to the Dodgers. So that would not happen. Although I argue they should. It would probably be the best package of prospect he could get, especially now that the Padres just emptied the farm. But like, I just don't understand what they're doing out with the Angels. And go for it, Van Dyke, before I continue my next point.
First off, Shohei would make more sense because Billy Apple used to work for the Angels, but they would still be losers if they traded Shohei Ohtani, because at that point, you're pretty much telling Mike Trout that, hey, we're going to rebuild. You want to stay around here for the next 12 more years that you're under contract here? Hell no, I don't want to do that. Like,
that's the thing. Like in baseball, it's very different. You hardly see players being like, I want out.
Yeah,
it's very rare. It's not like the NBA where they're like, I want out. But I don't know. The Angels are a weird situation. second part of my city of Los Angeles, it is the Dodgers. Like, when your biggest move from the trade deadline is that you got Joey Gallo, there's issues. There's issues here, especially when the rest of the National League kind of upgraded. Like, look at your division rival, the San Diego Padres. What did they do? Oh, yeah, they got everybody. They got everybody. The Cardinals upgraded. The Brewers arguably downgraded.
Yeah.
You know, the Mets kind of in the middle. I don't really know what the Mets did, but the Mets have a good team. They got Jacob DeGrom back. Maybe, look at the Dodgers. They're going to get Walker Buehler back. They're going to get Dustin May back. So it's like you don't have to do something, but like
you didn't.
You have the prospects and the farm system. Go get a high-end reliever. Like the Craig Kimbrell experiment has been atrocious.
I'm surprised they weren't in on Josh Hader. I don't know what happened.
I'm surprised they weren't in on Jorge Lopez.
Yeah.
That would have I don't think the Dodgers would ever bring in Josh Hader, if we're being honest.
Or even the Marlins deal with the Blue Jays.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
Lopez, yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like they could have went and done something. I think the Dodgers and their fans, they can trust what Andrew Friedman's doing because he's put them into these situations many times. And the move to get Chris Martin from the Cubs, that was a low key move that I think could end up paying off in the playoffs. He's a decent reliever, but I don't know. I would have loved to just see them getting like a closer because I'm going to tell you I don't want Craig Kimbrell coming out into the ninth inning with any lead. I don't care if it's a 4-run lead. I don't care. I don't want him out there.
Yeah.
He can come out if we're up by 10. That's it. That's the only time I ever want that man on the mound. He has been awful, and it's really sad to see because he's one of the best closers of all time.
Yeah. So
I think the Dodgers are a loser. And then thirdly, we can't have a baseball show without mentioning this. R.I.P. Vince Scully.
Yeah.
The city of Los Angeles and the sports world as a whole just lost an icon. So I know obviously that's a cheesy way to tie this in, but
no,
we had to talk about it for even a second here.
It does.
He was great.
The
absolutely
man was
love
just
the guy.
an icon of the sports world to the city of Los Angeles. It's a shame that he passed.
Yeah.
I mean, 94 years old. He had a great life. He was with the Dodgers organization for 67 years, which is crazy, by the way.
He was 25 when he called the World Series too, which is just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
It's
legend stuff. And
absolutely.
Sports world mourns him and wishes family well, friends well. But it just sucks that he had to go so soon. I mean, granted, 94 is a long time, but we would have loved for him to live longer.
Yeah. Maybe call another World Series or two for the Dodgers, huh? Well, yeah, there's no better way to end the show than talking, raising the glass, tipping the cap to good old Vin Scully, one of the best to ever do it. Let's be real here, baseball. You cannot ever talk about baseball without talking about Vin Scully and what he's done for the game and everything about it. So, but yeah, that's our trade deadline recap. The episodes will continue. Next week we got an interesting topic planned for you guys, talking about the best of the best a little bit. So make sure you guys hear same time, same place next week here on the T. Davidson YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in to Walk Off Wednesdays, and we're looking forward to seeing you guys here next week.